Hi, everyone.
Hi, Karen.
Aw, it's good to see you. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
I love our intern, Rachel. Judy, this is our intern, Rachel. She's originally from Korea, right, Rachel? And then, yeah, now she's in Fullerton.
Oh, very nice. Well, nice to meet you. Welcome.
Rachel, I would welcome you to say anything that you want about interning at Autism Tree or any of that.
Yeah, I think throughout my internship, I've learned so much. I was able to communicate with a lot of Autism Tree families, and I think I've learned like a lot. Yeah, I'm just thankful for this opportunity.
Well, we're thankful to have you on our team, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, my voice is cracked today because I have a coughing. Yeah.
That's okay. We hope
I
you
hope
feel
you
better.
feel better.
Mhm.
Who is, what's your name underneath Judy, the speaker today? Who I wanted to say hi to you.
I think everyone has a different image on their screens, but I see somebody named Point Loma. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Brenda from UFC in Point Loma. We were invited. I think we just got the invite this morning, so I have no idea. I'm very new. Hi.
Hi, what's your name?
Brenda.
Brenda, nice to meet you. Are you a parent? Do you have a
No,
child?
I'm not. No, we work at USC Point Loma, USC Fit Point Loma. So we have we run a gym facility, and we have youth programs, and we have kids club and like youth activities as well. So that's why they invite. I'm pretty sure that's why they invited us.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to have you.
Thank you.
And I think there's another parent on here, Donna. I don't know if she'll be able to speak or not, but hello.
Hi, Donna.
Hi there. I am currently working, so I decided to jump on. So I'll stay, muted, and I'll turn the video off so I can continue. But I just wanted to jump in. I have a son that's 6 turning 7 in October, so just wanted to see what I can gather in information. We've been on this journey since he was 3, so just trying to gain as much as I can.
Donna, where are you located?
I live in Oceanside.
Okay, great.
That's
Happy to have you on here.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. We'll cover a lot of things, and I'm excited. Hopefully, I'll get to meet you in person one day and your kiddo when we at some of our events in the community. All right, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. We'll get started. For those of you who are new, there's a quick refresher of a couple Zoom rules for people who haven't joined in a little bit. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking. We recommend speaker view for presentation. Video sharing is optional, and please type all questions and comments into the chat, and we will have an opportunity where you can unmute yourself at the end and talk with our guest speaker, ask any questions you'd like, or you can type in the chat and I can read those questions off for you as well, whatever is easiest to keep the conversation flowing. We love to hear from everyone. A quick update from Autism Tree. We've reached over 700,000 people across all of our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. This has been incredible. We started tracking these numbers once the pandemic hit in 2020, and we've just been able to reach a crazy amount of wonderful people all across the US and across the world, which has been really great. One blessing that came out of COVID is that we can expand our community online. So we've had 91 of these lunch and learns we have available and ready to watch on our YouTube channel. We've used these as a wealth of resources for our new families, just to learn more about Autism Tree, about our programs, about our community, to keep everyone inspired and moving forward. And we have parents and professionals and community partners, all and come tell their stories. And it's been a wonderful way to really connect with everyone. And I welcome you to watch any of those on YouTube. Since January, we've already coordinated 137 events as of today for family events out in the community all over San Diego County. We have 63 coming up between now and the end of December that are on our calendar that you can register for at any time on our website or on our Facebook calendars. We have the links to sign up. It's free to attend. All you have to do is RSVP or reach out to myself or our program coordinator, Lupe. And 19, those 200 programs annually that we do a year on average fall under our 19 programs. And we have 12 going on in person right now and the rest going on virtually. So there's a lot of opportunity to connect with our community and other families and volunteers. We have 468 videos on our YouTube channel, including those lunch and learns are included in that number. But a lot of those videos are also about our annual neuroscience conference that we do and our core team meetings for volunteers. Also just fun activities and videos from our volunteers of what you can do with your kids at home. So if you're ever looking for more ideas on activities to do, we have like 300 videos for you to go through, which is super fun. We posted 400 of those videos from volunteers and our community since March 12th. Special thank you shout out to our Lunch and Learn sponsor, CalAble. We've done 4 Lunch and Learns to date with them. We typically do about once a month. CalAble is a great resource. I recommend. It's a financial savings program. Oh, I think I skipped a slide. Yeah. A financial savings program. And if your disability occurred before the age of 26, you're eligible to open a CalAble account. I highly recommend you check out their website and all of our past Lunch and Learns. And so now I'll pass it off to Dana Hoff, our Executive Director, and she'll introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's so nice to be here with everybody. And it's just hard to believe that we're getting ready to go into September. I can't believe Labor Day weekend's ahead of us. And I just wanted to share how hard we're working over here as a team at Autism Tree. A couple things that I wanted to share with you is San Diego now has something called San Diego Gives. And we're really embracing it and looking forward to it because it's a way that we can kick off our year-end campaign. We are a nonprofit and we don't charge our families for anything. We're turning 20 years old next year. And right now we're at about 30% of our operating budget. So we need all hands on deck for everyone that values the work that we do at Autism Tree to get their communities donating so that we can go securely into next year. And so we're excited about it. What we do is a telethon. So on this year, on September 8th, we're really excited to do San Diego Gives. It's something new. We normally used to start our year-end campaign with Giving Tuesday, which some of you might be familiar with. Bill Gates started it as a way during the holidays when there's like Black Friday and all these shopping type of things for everyone to give to charity, which is like the first Tuesday of every December. So we're looking at this as a blessing to kick off our year-end campaign on September 8th. So I'm sharing it with you because you'll be seeing emails, you'll be seeing stuff coming out. And I just want you to know that Rebecca and I and our whole team is looking at it as a blessing because in a perfect world, we would crush our year-end giving campaign in Q3 and start Q4, which is October, November, December, with the ability to focus on our neuroscience conference, which is an incredible amount of work. It's a global neuroscience conference that's coming up Friday, November 4th. We're honestly working tirelessly on it. We did a tour on Monday with our chairman and CalAble, who is actually the Lunch and Learn sponsor. And there is simply no way to exaggerate how exciting this year's conference is going to be. Allison Motry, our chairman, has the largest autism lab in the world here in San Diego. What he has accomplished in the 10 years that I've known him is almost hard to comprehend. There's just no way I can exaggerate how exciting it is. Essentially, what he does is he takes saliva and using your individual saliva, he makes mini brains. Well, when I started seeing this, in the early days, it looked like a petri dish that any of us that have had a science class and use a petri dish could imagine. Now, since the tour on Monday, it's far beyond that. It is literally something out of a movie. You would have to see it to understand it, I think. Me sharing it is just not enough. But the brain, the goal that he has is for there not to be autism anymore, to be actually able to go back and put fresh cells in. And they're accomplishing this kind of thing. It's not an idea. He's been working on it 10 years, and he's actually funded by NASA and NIH. He has over 17 people working in his lab. I share this with you because we love to be able to illuminate the work that he's doing and the heartbeat that he has, truly to serve the communities that have individuals like his own son, who is nonverbal and not living as fulfilling of a life that he would like to see his own son lead. So I'm extraordinarily honored to be doing this neuroscience conference with Dr. Allison Moultrie. I trust him as an incredible scientist with probably one of the biggest heartbeats for actual children and families that I've ever experienced. That's why we have this partnership to do the neuroscience conference, with the goal of having these renowned neuroscientists have the actual heart connection to the children and families that are here at Autism Tree. That was always the goal, is to have that heart connection. And I can tell you with over 100% that is in place. I haven't met one scientist in the last 10 years that's been as distinguished speaker that hasn't really wanted to meet the families that come out and really wanted to meet individuals with autism. So it's been a really exciting time having the Lunch and Learn being a connecting point. So if you're new here today, I just want you to know that this is something that is a huge resource that Rebecca and I use every day. These Lunch and Learns, we constantly are sending them to community partners, parents, in ways you can't imagine, as a way to, like for Judy, the speaker today, I'm sure we sent her a couple Lunch and Learns for inspiration to get an idea, what she might want to talk about. And what also is super important to Rebecca and I is that we're not microing what we ask the speakers to talk about. And I think that's what's made it pretty extraordinary, is to let the speaker know we're inspired by you. We do all of our pre-work and meet with the person that was referred to us. And we came to Judy through Dr. Tracy Shepler, who was running our mentor program for years and has a son named Derek, who's been part of our neuroscience conference. The Shepler family is one of, our original Autism Tree families. So when we get referrals of people that other people in our community want to be on the Lunch and Learn, we are honored and we are grateful. And Judy is a representation of that. We tried to meet with her as soon as possible when Dr. Shepler asked us to meet with her. And so that's kind of how we got to where we are today, right now, having Judy be a speaker. And I want to share that because we're going into next year already planning our Lunch and Learns. And we're actually re-inspired in a whole new way. This year, Rebecca and I are going to have one speaker a month who's on the autism spectrum. And I think it's really, really soul level because it ties in to how we've worked so hard on Autism Tree's core values, and going from Autism Tree Project Foundation to Autism Tree, the Autism Tree family. So you'll see us going from ATPF to AT. We spent about a year working on the rebranding of the logo to make it simpler, to the refocusing where every one of our new shirts says one family at a time since 2003. And I really hadn't been using my business cards, and now I do, because on the back it has our 4 pillars that we run everything through. So if you haven't seen that, it's on our website, and I won't cover it right now. But what I would want you to know is it's very, very special. It ties to how much we've been working on staying true to our core mission, which is serving one family at a time, and how perfect that we're going to have one speaker a month with autism. So I share that with you in case you have someone that inspires you, that you want to bring to Autism Tree to be on a future Lunch and Learn. We welcome it. And with that, I want to thank everyone for being part of the Lunch and Learns, and for Judy to being here today. There's always a reason each week why the speaker is here. And I know that will be true with you too, Judy. So thank you for coming out and helping us learn and be inspired by you today. We're so grateful.
Well, with that, I will get started. Thank you so much, Dana, for the warm welcome. And before I introduce myself, I just want to express my gratitude for having the opportunity to be here with you all today, and for being able to be a part of the community that is really working towards bringing as much information to the public and to the community as possible. And I love that these get recorded. They're accessible on YouTube, that people from all over can access them at any time. And it's just great knowing that Autism Tree has so many different outreach programs, to hear that these Lunch and Learns will continue, and to have somebody once a month who identifies as somebody on the spectrum is so amazing, and such a way to show how Autism Tree really lives out those values. So I think it's just amazing. And I'm looking forward to also being able to go to the neuroscience yes conference, and it's just around the corner. So I'm definitely marking my calendar for that. So with that said, my name is Judy Feezer. I am a PhD candidate in clinical psychology at Palo Alto University. I finished my internship just a month ago at Sharp Healthcare, and my primary focus is anxiety and depression with children and adolescents. And I really began my career working with kids with autism, and that absolutely holds a special place in my heart. And I really think that a lot of science is working towards identifying that many individuals with autism also experience anxiety and depression. And so really there's an intersection in terms of the work that I do and hope to continue to do. So with that said, I'll go ahead and get started. I want to share some slides with you, and then I'll leave the last 5-10 minutes for any questions that you might have. Please feel free to pop something in the chat if something comes to mind. I know that oftentimes I have something cross my mind and then I forget. So feel free to pop it in, and I'll, Rebecca, if you wouldn't mind helping me field some of that as I talk. I'm not as good as multitasking. So if you could just like flag me and let me know. And of course, at the end, we'll keep some time open for that. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully technology will be on my side today and you all can see the slides.
Looks great.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so as Dana mentioned, she invited me to do this Lunch and Learn, and I really had the opportunity to go wherever I wanted. And so I thought, well, self-care is a really great topic to bring, because no matter whether you are a parent as a caregiver, a healthcare worker, if you are an intern or a postdoc, if you've been in this field for a long time or maybe just newer to it, I think self-care is really important to bring into this space. Oftentimes as individuals, we're caring for others, and sometimes we end up being on the back burner. And this is an opportunity for us to really, as caregivers, to bring ourselves to the forefront and really put ourselves into focus, because that's really important, that we have plenty of space to fill in order to give to others. I just absolutely love this quote that I found. It's by somebody who works with older adults, and I think it really applies though to everyone, which is caring for others is important. But COVID-19 taught us that sometimes by caring for yourself, you're caring for others too. this quote was applicable before COVID-19. We all know as caregivers that we oftentimes have a lot on our plate. And I think the one thing that COVID-19 did was really put into focus for others outside of the mental health community, how important it is to take care of ourselves. And I just wanted to put this quote here because oftentimes we forget about ourselves. We, like I said, we put ourselves on the back burner, and today's an opportunity for us to really highlight our needs in order to be able to give to others. I put this slide here. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is that oftentimes caregiving comes with a lot of stress, right? We have a lot of stressors, whether that means financial stress, right? Maybe that means booking appointments for others. It can take a lot of time being on the phone with somebody, trying to get appointments. Maybe that means going to IEPs, not maybe just one IEP, but going to multiple IEPs. And the hope is that there's good communication, and sometimes there is not. And right, that stress of being able to advocate for somebody and having that on your plate can be really huge. It can feel like a big boulder on your shoulders. It can also mean, as a caregiver, maybe you're part of that sandwich generation. There might be multiple people that you're providing care for. So it may not just be a child that you're taking care of, or a grandchild, or a niece or nephew. It might be also older adults that are in your family, or it might be other siblings. And so I just know that when all of these things intersect and come into play, it can feel like there's a big mountain that you're trying to climb, or that you're feeling like there's just a blanket that is kind of over you. And some of the feelings that come up from some of that is feeling maybe really anxious, right? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough? Maybe it's feeling hurt that maybe your own needs aren't getting highlighted as much as you would like them to be. Maybe it's anger towards others and anger towards the systems that are in play, right? That may be holding barriers to being able to access the things that you really need to make a difference. Which is why I love Autism Tree, right? Because it kind of reduces a lot of those barriers. And we know that there are so many barriers out there. And so all of that really means that there's a lot of stressors on us. And that can mean on a day-to-day basis that we're feeling that stress, we're maybe starting to feel more sad, we're starting to feel more tense. And so today is really thinking about, well, when those stressors are feeling like it's a huge weight, what are the things that we can be doing to reduce some of that feeling of stress? And to really being able to fill our own buckets back up so that we can give to others. And oftentimes it's a matter of really thinking about our values again and what's important to us. And so oftentimes we think about our values in terms of others. Well, I want to be able to advocate for others, right? I value being able to have a voice for others. Or I really want to make sure that I am being able to caregive in a way that feels caring and supportive and loving. And oftentimes we forget about the values that we ourselves need. And so putting on that value list, maybe even thinking about myself as being important, that my own mental health is important, that being able to say, you know what, I need compassion for myself, I need time for myself, that those are important, and we need to put that on a list. And so on a day-to-day basis, even as we're going down that road of, oh my gosh, I have a list of things that I need to get to today, right? Maybe it's researching what kind of, what IEPs are like, who do I need to reach out to? Well, we also have a road that we can go down to that says, well, also on that list is important to put myself first and to carve out time where I can really make sure that I'm being able to get some rest, make sure that I'm eating, make sure that I'm also filling up my emotional bucket so then I can go and do all of those other things that I need to. And this, I think, applies not only to those of us who are parents, but those of us who might be intersecting as healthcare workers, right? That we're making sure that we're taking that time to really say, hey, I'm going to put a pause and make sure that I'm taking care of myself. I really like that old airplane analogy where we say you really have to put on our mask first before we can help others. And that's what this really is self-caring for ourselves, is then being able to say, okay, I have enough energy to be able to do the other things that I want to be able to do. Okay, any questions so far or any comments? Okay.
So far.
Well, so far, okay. One of the things that I wanted to talk about in terms of self-care is really looking at our building blocks, right? These are the pieces of our self-care that are so important and oftentimes we forget. And, you know, this is common for almost all of us, me included, right? Eating. Who here has felt like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do today. I need to make sure that my child is fed, has everything they need to go to school. I need to make sure that I'm doing all the emails that I haven't gotten to. And then by the time you realize it might be like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and you've realized, oh my gosh, why am I feeling like a little irritated? Or maybe someone cuts you off and you're like, oh my gosh, that's the most horrible thing that happened, right? Our tolerance for being able to handle some of these things are pretty low if we haven't been able to take care of ourselves. And so I've noticed, you know, if I haven't had a meal in the morning or a meal in the afternoon, that I'm more likely to kind of snap, to be more irritable and not be able to really take on the things that I need for the day. And when I say eating, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be what we call like the healthy meal. It doesn't have to be something celery or cottage cheese. You know what? Donuts work just fine. They're great. You can hold them in one hand. You might even be able to drive with the other. As long as you're getting sustenance, that's really the key piece here, right? Is that you're making sure that you're getting nutrients in your body so that your brain can work and that you're able to take on any other stressors that happen throughout the day. So that's one. I know that can be easier said than done, right? It can feel like there's so many other things that are so much more important. And here's the piece that I really just want to convey is that you are important, and taking that 5 minutes to feed and get nutrients into your body is so important, because we're not able to really take care of others if we're not feeling well ourselves, right? The other piece is sleep. Again, I know that oftentimes it can feel like at the very end of the day is when we have time for ourselves, right? During the day is about making phone calls, setting up appointments, doing emails, whatever is on our plate. And then at the end of the day, we say, okay, I finally have some time for myself. I'm going to hop on YouTube, or maybe I'm just going to take a moment. And then what ends up happening, and I totally am guilty of this as well, is that then before I know it, it's like 2, 3 in the morning. And then I'm getting 4 hours of sleep. And wouldn't you know, the next day I'm more irritable. I'm more likely to snap at others. And, you know, that makes sense, right? Our body needs rest. And there's really good science that says when our brain is getting rest, it's able to reset and get ready for the next day. Sometimes I go to sleep, or I try to go to sleep, and my brain is just super busy. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but it has a billion things on my mind and it's trying to prepare for the next day. It makes sense. Our brains are made to be efficient, right? It wants to problem solve. And what happens though is sometimes our brain gets stuck trying to problem solve, and there isn't necessarily a solution to some of these things. And so sometimes shutting off the brain, and I'll bring up some tips later in the presentation about how we can think about shutting off the brain so that we can get that sleep. What we know, what is recommended for adults is 8 to 9 hours of sleep. And so if you can really highlight that and say sleep is important, I need to have a routine for myself. And maybe that means I go and have a banana, I read a little bit, and I go to sleep, and really making that a priority. Again, it's going back to those lists of values and saying that you matter and you are a priority, to set that 10, 15 minutes aside for yourself. Because that's really important that we replenish ourselves so that we can be ready for whatever comes our way the next day. The other piece that I want to say is really foundational is illness, right? We know, especially with COVID and other things that are coming into play, so flu, cold, those absolutely come through the summertime as well. Although I'm newer to San Diego, so it feels like summer all year, although that may not technically be true. But what we do know is that illnesses come, right? And depending on our resources, if you have family nearby that can help, reach out to them. I know it can feel like sometimes, oh my gosh, I'm putting a lot on other people's plate too. And absolutely, if it's available to you, make yourself that priority so that you can get the sleep, you can recover from any illnesses. And again, that puts you in a better place to be able to take on the things the next day, right? I know for some of us, we don't necessarily have family around, or we don't have those resources. So it's really thinking about, how can I take those 5-10 minutes for myself to make sure that I'm drinking enough water, that I can maybe just take those 5 minutes to sit, to take some deep breaths, and to know that that is important, to take that bit of time, because your body, when it's down and it's ill, cannot function in a way that is able to then take care of others, right? Our brain gets foggy, we're tired, we're more likely to be irritated. And so really making sure that we're taking care of our illnesses in that way is really important too. Okay. I do have a bit of soapbox on this one because I do think these are really foundational pieces, and oftentimes we forget about them because they seem like, oh, those are things that we are supposed to do all the time. But really, we often forget that those are things that we're not necessarily doing. And so it's really important that we put those things into play. Okay. The next piece that I want to talk about in terms of self-care is, I love this picture. It says, being mindful, be in the present. So I mentioned, and I don't know if any of you all relate to trying to go to bed and saying, okay, I know I need my 8 or 9 hours of rest. I'm going to go to bed. And what happens? You close your eyes, you say, okay, I'm going to go to sleep. And then the brain just turns on. And it says, oh, wait, what about tomorrow? Did you make sure to send that email? And you're like, oh, yeah. Okay, I did that email. And then you're like, okay, I'm ready to go to bed. Close your eyes again. And then the brain lights up again, right? It says, oh, yeah. But did you remember to pack that lunch that you need to for tomorrow? You're like, oh, yeah. Okay, I did that. And your brain is thinking about what's happening in the future. Or maybe we're thinking about like the events of the day. So maybe we were advocating for somebody and we thought, oh my gosh, you know what? I should have said something else. And you replay that in your head over and over again. And so we're thinking a lot about what's happening in the future. We're thinking a lot about what's happening in the past, but then we're missing out on what's happening right here, right now, which is us and our needs. And so what I really want to talk about with this slide is that if we can take out the future, take out the past, not to take them out, let me rephrase that. If we can let them be and really tune into what's happening in the present, and that can mean tune into what's happening to our physiological symptoms. So like what's happening with my heartbeat? What does it feel like right now? What is my breathing like right now? Then I can tune into the present and really be with myself. And that often there's such good science that says being present in the moment is so rejuvenating. It gives us a moment to breathe, to put ourselves as a priority, and to be able to reduce some of that stress of, oh my gosh, what's happening in the future? What about the past? Did I do something wrong? But I really get to be right here, right now. And I know with being, that word mindfulness comes up for a lot of people when we talk about being present in the moment. And I don't know about you all, but when I first started learning about mindfulness, I had this image of, okay, I need to be sitting cross-legged. I need to be, you know, putting my fingers on the tips of my knees and humming. And really, that is one way to practice mindfulness. And it's not the only way to practice mindfulness. Really, mindfulness does not have to be a half-hour long practice. It can really be the in-between moments. And so that's what I really want to talk about today is how do we use those in-between moments? So maybe it's walking to the bathroom, maybe it's washing our hands, or it's putting dishes in the dishwasher. Those are all times where we can really be present and thinking about what does it like feel like to be walking to the bathroom? What does my toe feel like as I'm walking? Is there a lot of pressure? Is there a little bit of pressure? Maybe, you know, I notice that I'm walking a little heavier on my right foot than my left foot. But when we do that, we start to reduce all the other stressors, right? And often what I notice is that my shoulders are like this. And I'm not somebody who likes doing dishes, but I notice if I just focus on washing one dish at a time, I notice like, oh, how much soap am I putting on the dish? How many times am I circling the dish? How many suds are being made? My shoulders start to go, whew. And I start to notice, wow, I've done 5 dishes. And I didn't even notice that I did 5 dishes. Wow, this is great. And, you know, it may not be that aha moments when we're doing mindfulness, like all of a sudden we're getting this reduction, 100% reduction of stress, right? But it's one tool that we can use, that we can continue to use on a day-to-day basis and in those in-between moments that can be helpful. And so I know with our busy days that these are things that we can drop in throughout the day. It can be 2 minutes, it can be 5 minutes. Again, when our brain is busy at night, this is something that we can do. How does our body feel on the bed? Is it heavy? Is it light? Do we notice that one arm feels heavier than the other? What's my heart doing? Is it going fast? Is it going slow? So if we can just be present with those and being aware of what that feels like, then that just kind of sets our bubble to being right here, right now. And we're not, our brain is not so set on other things. And I noticed for me, it really helps with being able to take on one thing at a time, as opposed to feeling like I'm taking on a big mountain. But it's the one thing at a time. And it helps with remembering where your car is. I don't know if any of you have been like in that place of like, I'm so busy, you park your car, you go inside somewhere and you come out and you're like, where's my car? Right? Because we're not being present in the moment. So if we can be really present, say, okay, I'm parked right here, I'm parked between in G2, then we're being present, we can go inside, we can come back, we know where our car is. I found that to be a very useful tool. Okay.
Great example.
Any questions so far about, about being mindful and ways that we can incorporate that into our day? The other part is being kind to ourselves. So I know what I have learned from many others and what I know about myself is that oftentimes we can be really critical of ourselves, especially as caregivers. I don't know if any of you can relate to that idea of, am I doing enough? Am I advocating enough? Am I giving the care that I need to? And those questions, absolutely, we all ask ourselves. What we sometimes do then is go through a spiral. We might start off with that question, but then we say, am I advocating enough? I'm not advocating enough. That must mean that I'm not doing enough. I've failed. I'm a bad caregiver. And we go down this spiral, right? And we get really critical. And so if we can take those moments and be, as much as I can say this is easier said than done, but taking a moment to be really non-judgmental of ourselves in those moments, right? Knowing that we're doing the best that we can given circumstances, whether that means we have a busy full-time job, right? As a parent, as somebody out in the workforce, as somebody who's taking care of maybe multiple people, that we're doing the best that we can. And often those moments, just placing my hands on my heart and closing my eyes and saying, I'm doing the best that I can, and that's okay, allows me to be kind to myself and to not grade myself. You know, how many of you are out there grading yourself, right? Did I get an A+ for today? And to know that whatever you're doing in these moments is okay. What you're doing is enough for the day, right? And taking the facts, really knowing, like, I did go to an IEP today. I did make a call. That's neither good nor bad. It just is, right? Those are things that happened. And so if we can take those facts, then we remove that judgment of ourselves, and we can start to be kinder to ourselves. And in those moments when we're kinder for ourselves, oftentimes what I hear others say is that I have found that when I'm kinder to myself, I feel like I have more emotional, I filled up my bucket, I can give to others, right? If we're kind to ourselves, we can be kind with others. Let's see, making connections is the other piece that I want to talk about when we're thinking about making sure that we're taking care of ourselves. So oftentimes when we're in the space of taking care of others, it can feel very isolating, right? And maybe it is isolating, right? We're at home with somebody for the majority of the day, or maybe we're in the healthcare system, we're with others for the majority of the day. We're busy providing care. We are busy making sure that other people's needs are met. And so we're not always able to make the same connections that maybe we once had and would like to nurture, or that we want to have and want to nurture. And so when that is isolating, we can feel very removed from others. We can feel set apart from others. And so I really want to make sure that we're also in these moments remembering that we're not alone in this. Although it can feel like we're out on an island by ourselves, that if we can take a moment and just know that there are many other parents out there, right, who have a child with a diagnosis of autism. We know that there are many other caregivers out there who are providing care for older adults, for siblings, for others. Like, that kind of reminds us that we're not alone in this. It can help connect us, right? So just having that visual imagery and talk with ourselves like, hey, we're not alone in this. that there are others can help us reconnect. And also coming to things like this, like the Lunch and Learn, is a way to reconnect with others, right? To be able to remind ourselves that, yes, there are others who are also advocating fiercely for what is important, and to break down some of those barriers for getting what a lot of kids need. And so if we can just make those connections and remind ourselves that we are human and that we're doing the best that we can, and that others are doing the same, that oftentimes that helps reduce that feeling of stress, right? And that we're more compassionate with ourselves, that we can be kinder to ourselves. And in those moments that we're more compassionate and kinder to ourselves, we can then be compassionate and kinder with others that we're caregiving for. Because, right, I think we've all been there when we're caregiving, that it can feel like a burden sometimes, right? It can feel tough. And that's normal. That's part of caregiving, right? That doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you don't care, that your heart is not in the right place. It means that we're human. And just remembering that we're human lets us let go of some of those stressors and know that we can then kind of pick ourselves back up and go back out there and do the advocacy work that we want, or that caregiving work that we need to do. Okay. So that's it for the presentation. I know that we have about 10 minutes left. So I just wanted to open it up to the floor if there's any questions that you might have about the presentation. A lot of this information is based off of Dr. Neff, who is a big person who works in the self-compassion field, and Renee Brown, who also works on self-compassion and being kinder to ourselves. They're both people that if you wanted more information, you can go onto their websites. They have lots of YouTube videos that you can also access. And I have been somebody, as a parent who's myself, who's grading myself a lot, that self-compassion and self-kindness can be so important, with knowing that we're doing the best that we can.
Thank you, Judy. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to anyone. This was so needed today, Judy. I thank you. I feel like I was, at least personally, I felt like I needed to hear this again. We actually just had a guest speaker last week as well, who is covering a similar topic. But the way you really simplistically broke it down, and you are such a gifted communicator, just really resonated with me today. And I think it was like a sign from the universe that I needed to, hear this again and really refocus on taking care of our own needs and being self-compassionate and that type of thing. Because there's a lot of, the world is so busy and there's always something to do and there's always something to get done. So I just thank you this was a wonderful presentation. It was great.
Thank you.
And then Karen, can I have you stop sharing your screen, Judy?
Oh, yes.
And Karen wrote in the comments, she's like, Judy, you're such a sweet soul. You're full of wisdom, a great communicator, and full of great advice. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate those comments, and so grateful that I get to share this with you all today. And I want you to all know that the self-care is something I'm passionate about, because it's not something that I'm just lecturing about. I really take it to heart myself, as a caregiver for little ones and my parents. So I think it's important that we get to refocus on that on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Absolutely. And then April says she doesn't have any questions, but she's really grateful to hear your insight as well. It's one of our moms.
Great. Take 5 minutes after today for yourself, please.
Yeah. Let's all take a breath. And then we include the recap email, all the resources. So I'll be sure to include Dr. Neff and Brené Brown in the recap that'll go out this Friday. So you guys can watch some of her videos. Judy, do you have a favorite that stands out that you want to share?
Oh, there's so many. I know one of Kristen Neff gives a great talk on TED Talks. And so if you just put in your Google search, Kristen Neff, TED Talks, it will be one of the first things that pops up. She's a wonderfully gifted speaker. She herself also comes from a place of being very critical of her own actions and really coming from a place of trying to be kinder to herself in her own life. And so again, she's living out these values as well. And so it's so heartwarming to hear, and knowing that there are others who are facing the same things and that you're not alone in the journey.
Yeah, as somebody, I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I am somebody who struggles with anxiety, and I just recently started medication for it, and it has been just amazing because I wish I had started it a lot sooner, because it's like I still have those anxious thoughts, but my body's not reacting to it as much. So it's a lot easier for me to manage and get back into that mindfulness and present space that it has been before. So like hearing you talk about, how your mind fires right before bed, that was literally my experience last night, and it still happens, of just thinking everything that I need to get done, or like something embarrassing that happened a decade ago. So it's really nice to hear all the tips that you gave.
Great. I think many people relate to that.
Thanks for saying that. Well, I think that's it. I'd love to take a group picture of everyone before we all go. It's tradition. So if you'd like to turn on your camera, April, I'd love to see you. And Donna, we'd love to see your faces to be a part of our picture.